an awakening is the best way to describe it. And that was, roughly at the late 20s. I think I was around 29 that I resigned, that the way I was living my life, and being selfish, self-centered, you know, partying still and all that, was detrimental to, myself and my family, the people I love.
Welcome everyone to another episode of The Story of You. We have today with us special guest Donald Menzel. Donald owns several businesses, and one of which is a roofing company and a solar company. Donald, why don't you introduce us to yourself and tell us a little bit about those businesses?
Don Menzel. I've lived here in Seminole County now for about 12 years. Within that 12 years, my wife and I, we had started an accounting firm prior to moving here that we brought to the Florida area with us. Roughly coming up, I think, on 5 years now. That business has leveled off in the sense that we knew the growth in it and what we were going to do with it, and we knew that we were going to continue to grow, so we diversified. I started the roofing company, got the licensing for that, and then roughly, I don't know, within the past 60 days, I added to that business a secondary business, solar consultation, where they just kind of, obviously flow together. Whenever you think roofing and you're looking up there, you're looking 9 times out of 10, you think solar as well. So I started a solar consulting firm that my customers or anybody can go solar now too.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like you are quite the entrepreneur then. Are you an accountant by background?
My wife is. I like to tell people I know enough to be dangerous.
Nice. Well, congratulations on your entrepreneurial spirit and the successful businesses you have built. How did you mentioned that you had the accounting firm before coming to Florida, and then also once you got here, where'd you come from before Florida?
Originally to the Kansas City metro area.
What brought you to the Sunshine State?
Well, for me, it was always a yearning, something about, I always had this draw for Florida. And then, so when my youngest daughter was born, it was kind of like, a new adventure. I was contracting and roofing in Kansas City, so I wasn't like nailed down to a 9-to-5 job. My wife was working for a family firm, accounting firm. And so there arose the opportunity that, she wasn't tied to that. And so I was like, well, look, I've always wanted to move to Florida. I had a family in the area, around Orlando. What's your thoughts? We had money, stored away. And so we just kind of pulled the trigger and decided to move here.
Wow. That's takes some courage to make such a drastic move. And you have a family too, right? So you
Right.
Everyone, kids in schools and everything else, just made the move. How did the kids, how did they respond to making such a big move?
You treat it as an adventure, because life always is, just that. You kind of roll with the punches. My oldest son at the time when we moved here was, he was 13, so it was definitely more of an experience for him than the younger ones. He loved it. He found his fiance here, but when he hit 18, it was kind of like most of his family on his mother's side was in the Kansas City area. So he decided, to go back to the Kansas City area, but, he took his fiance with him. So the younger ones, they really, at this point, they don't remember much being anywhere but here. So
Mhm. And am I correct that you have 5 children?
in total, yes, 3 that still live at home.
Kudos to you. That is you have quite the handful. I mean, I understand that some of them are older now, but I have 3, and the youngest is 2 years old, and I don't know that I could manage anymore. It's a lot of work. So
Yeah, my
that's awesome.
youngest is 11 now.
Okay. So finally they're out of the diapers and kind of, past some of those challenging stages, but they're just getting ready to go into the more challenging stages of the teen years, is what I hear. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 of the 3 are there.
Girls or boys?
2 girls, 1 boy left at home.
Nice. Well, that is great that you are a family man in addition to being a businessman. Tell us a little bit about who you were before you started a family and started your business endeavors. Who was Donald Menzel in high school?
He was a knucklehead. He didn't listen to, like, I remember one thing my father tried to instill in me was work smart, not hard. And junior high, high school, I kind of fell into the wrong crowd, and the schooling came easy. So that's where, like, I got, I basically hurt myself in the sense that I had the book smarts and everything, but I just didn't have common sense. And so, and falling into like the wrong crowd, the entrepreneurial spirit that I had and everything, I was always out at 13, 14, 15, cutting grasses, doing paper routes, I was always working. And so, I lost interest in school. And so at 18, when, the buck stopped with me, those odd end jobs just wasn't cutting it and trying to pay, bills. So that's, originally what took me into the roofing industry was the opportunity to make, good money, even starting out as a laborer. And it took me roughly 3 or 4 years into my roofing career to realize that it was, smarter for me to, work for myself and trying to subcontract and whatnot versus working and building somebody else's company.
Sure. Sure. That's interesting that you started working at such a young age. I had a boss one time who an interview question he would ask new employees was, what was your first job? And if they didn't have a job up until, they were fully grown and out of college, then he was hesitant to hire them because he felt that people who started working young as children, whether it be, like you said, a paper route or, just babysitting, that there was a work ethic that those
Right.
people had that was stronger than people who didn't have to work till later in life.
I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so you said that you kind of got in with the wrong crowd in middle and high school. Did something happen that kind of made you change your path in that way and decide to surround yourself with a better crowd?
Oh, many years later, in in gaining wisdom, trial by fire per se, I would, is the way I like to describe it. Living life and gaining experiences, whether they be good or bad experiences. I was blessed in the sense that I had hit a point in my life that I had an awakening, is the best way to describe it. And that was, roughly at the late 20s. I think I was around 29 that I resigned, that the way I was living my life and being selfish, self-centered, partying still and all that, was detrimental to, myself and my family, the people I loved.
Right. Right. Well, that is a wonderful story. There are many people who never have that type of awakening and live their lives self-centered forever. So, congratulations on reaching that point of self-awareness. And I'm sure that you've had a more fulfilling life since coming to that awakening. Am I right on that?
Um, it's a completely different perspective when you can let go and know that you don't have control, that God has control, and try to set aside, selfishness, self-centeredness, and really try to focus on being an asset, not only to yourself. That's a byproduct of being an asset to others. Been separated from alcohol for since 12/17/06, and that was my biggest downfall, was
Mm,
drinking. Being now sober 15 years, um, life doesn't get easier, but living life on life's terms through a different perspective. You don't seek these negative things, to make things okay. It's yeah, it's definitely been a lot better. Don't get me wrong,
yeah.
but life is still life. Bad things still happen. It's just how do I respond to them today versus how I used to.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that about your struggle with drinking. And that's really amazing to hear that you have been sober now for 15 years. And that you have not only been sober, but you have now built these incredible businesses. Is just I feel like that this will be an inspiration to people who may not yet be free of that struggle, to see that it can be done and it has been done, um, and that you can accomplish so much if you get to the place that you are able to overcome that challenge. That's a really inspiring story. So you said you started out as a laborer. Um, that that is awesome as well. I meet people sometimes who are in the field and they've never swung a hammer. They've been, either salespeople um, in management. So to have actually been someone who is putting roofs on, um, is amazing. I would expect that you probably are the kind of person that treats everybody with value because you've been there, right?
To say the least. I mean, when I first started out, um, if you're in the roofing industry, commercial work back, 20, 25 years ago, the majority of it was hot tar and gravel roofs. And that's all I knew. I mean, shingle residential work, uh, I used to do for fun on the weekends just to make cash, extra cash on the side. But during the week, sun up to sundown, we were doing commercial jobs, 4-ply, hot tar with gravel on top. And then, as I grew into the industry, I learned about TPO systems, doing custom slate roofs, metal roofs, tile. I've really had a hands-on approach in my business model and learning from the ground up and actually doing production, where for me, when I go to meet with the customer and having that experience, it's a huge attribute because I can actually speak to the process. I know the materials intimately, and I know, where failures will happen. I know, how to handle tough situations and tie-ins and all, just the advantage that I do have, I believe that I have versus, somebody that just, is looking for a sales job and or has a management degree and knows, systems on the computers in this industry. I've experienced it all.
That's awesome. I agree with that having started, as a laborer and understanding the complete process is valuable. For me, I was an assistant, I was they call it a law clerk, but as a law student, I worked as a legal assistant type administrative um, jobs while in law school. And so having been that person who was taking orders, who was, doing the legwork behind the scenes, I think adds to my perspective now as a lawyer, to have, kind of been there and done that job too. So congratulations on that. That's gives you a really awesome perspective. And I would think your clients appreciate that as well. And I'll say roofing, if of my top 5 jobs I would not ever want to personally do, roofing labor is up there. Like, it is up there, especially in Florida with the heat that we have to deal with. I can hardly like manage, going outside to take the trash out, let alone being up there day in and day out on the hot, asphalt shingles. I just can't even imagine how challenging it must be.
It's interesting that you bring that up because, when I first got down here, the licensing threshold for, somebody to get a license in Florida, because where I was at, all you had to have was, business experience, workman's comp, and general liability, a business tax receipt. You didn't have to do the licensing part. So when I got here and started looking into when we first moved down here 12 years ago, and getting the license, that's the reason why I didn't start up, a roofing company originally, was because of the cost of what it took to get the license. So roughly, 5 years ago, when I was in a position that we could afford to diversify and I could afford to get the license, when I started this company, I was actually wearing every single hat in this company: marketing, running leads, training, being, actually out there doing the jobs. For the first 2 years in starting this company, I was out with the men doing training, doing actual installs to make sure that the foundation of my company, was there. Because I didn't want to be one of these roofing companies that, come and go, in the sense that, I see a lot of owners out overspend, where they go and get these trucks that have all the wraps on it, and they hire all these salespeople, but they don't even have the basic foundation of a good, decent crew. That's the first 2 years of this company. That's what I made sure, is that the foundation of this company, I have good guys that are trained the way that I was taught to do it. And then that way, the customer service piece, the most important in working with your clients is, that's their buildings or their homes or their asset, that most people, they trust, like they want to make sure is taken care of like their children.
Sure.
Their roof that's protecting everything. They want to make sure that, that is nothing to worry about. There's no worries at night when they go to bed. And that was a part of the founding piece in actually getting out there and training these guys in 100-degree Florida weather, where it's completely different in the Midwest. It only gets that brutal like 2 weeks out of the year, not 6
Yeah.
months.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the year here. So, so what I'm hearing is that you aren't afraid to get your hands dirty, right? You get in there and you do it all. Nothing is beneath you. If it needs to be done, you get it done. And that's an impressive characteristic to have as a business owner. So again, applause to you for that. So, so where are you now? Where has your business grown to? What's business been like for you in recent times?
Well, and just getting started, you're obviously, like I just had kind of mentioned, is getting that foundation under place, making sure you have a good footing. In the growth of this company, I mean, you had spoke to Brandon originally, who knows how long ago that was, in trying to, figure out the structure for my company. I believe, in investing in people. When you're investing in people, it's a part of the foundation of the company that you're taking care of them and their families. So I've really set my company, the structure wise in a slow growth that I didn't want to be one of those 2, 3, 4, 5 year, roofing companies, and all of a sudden they disappear. In the growing foundation of this, I set it up as retail. I did not set up my company based upon insurance work because that changes every year. Legislation goes into effect. They go in and they vet insurance, problems or property right problems, and all this stuff, typically affects construction companies, especially roofing, when it comes to, being here in Florida. So I made sure that the foundation of this was a solid foundation in hiring. And right now we've implemented new systems for our workflows to really become more efficient. And so I'm going to be this year, towards the latter half of this year, doing some hiring for account managers and growing and just implementing the solar side of what I'm doing. I'm going to be hiring on the solar side of this as well. So towards the end of this year, I'm looking at it like a growth period, bringing, new people in and making sure that, I'm doing business and people that represent the business are good, trustworthy people. So that's where we're at now, is really I'll be stepping here in the next 30, 60 days in hiring new account managers for both sides of both companies, and just trying to find good people, good, honest people that want to be solutions and help, people in these industries.
I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you want to have conscientious growth, that you want to grow, but you want to find the right people. And, you're kind of waiting till that's the right time to bring in those people as you meet them. And that's smart to, grow as, not just throw a wide net and try to catch whatever you can find, but to take considerate steps towards that growth.
Oh, no, absolutely. I feel that, and, you've talked to Brandon, any of my production guys, they're the face of this company just as much as I am. So in adding to this team, I don't want just any Joe Schmo, that is just looking to make a buck. That's not what this is about for me. I have many families that depend on their job, their father's or, mother's job. So I'm not looking to just add anybody, correct? I'm being pretty conscientious about it, and running through a process to make sure that we're a good fit. It
Right.
has to be a good fit for both.
Right, absolutely. And you're definitely right about the legislation changes. We've seen that this year and last year particularly. So and it's affecting all of us in the insurance world. So having a strong retail base seems like it would be a good business model to not be so heavily influenced when legislative changes or insurance rules change from time to time. So you mentioned your solar company. Tell us a little bit more about what that is and how that works in relationship to your roofing business.
So I would say ideally for me, I'd stayed away from solar or recommending solar to, my roofing clients, because it just didn't make sense, putting some equipment on a brand new roof, poking, holes through it. And for me, in the investigation that I had done in the past, the technology really wasn't there. I didn't see the benefit for homeowners in solar in the past. I had somebody prospect me roughly 6 months ago and said, hey, how come you haven't added solar, to your repertoire? And I told him, I said, I don't believe in punching holes in a brand new roof. That I don't think that's in my customer's best interest, and solar just doesn't make sense. There's really no return on investment. And they said, well, when was the last time you looked into solar? And I admitted it had been a few years. And so they basically did, hey, so let me run you through, where it's at today. Obviously technology is getting more efficient, as time goes on. But I believe that the solar industry is at today with the warranties, you may actually change your mind. And so with that being said, I see where somebody can invest in putting an asset on their property now where they actually have a choice, where most people don't even know that they have a choice when it comes to their energy production. They just know that they pay the energy bill. It is what it is. If you want lights on, you want your refrigerator and AC working, you just pay the bill. What I've come to find now is that's not the case. You actually have an option. Solar and the investments and the financing that's out there. I can take somebody that needs a new roof, and if they're interested in solar, run an evaluation, see if it actually makes sense for them to go solar, because not everybody, their energy consumption differs, their shading differs, the disposition of the roof differs. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense for some people to go solar, but those that it does make sense for, I can actually take the financing vehicle now, wrap their solar project and their roof into one financing vehicle that gets them an APR of 1.49. And I'm like, if I have just a roof by itself and I'm running it through my financing company, you're talking about the lowest, if they have the best credit, is maybe a 6-7%.
Wow.
But now, if I give them an option of solar and they choose to do solar with their roofing project, I could drop their APR down to 1.449, and now they're trading their energy bill that they're used to paying every month, no matter what, for a solar bill that wraps their roof in it. So no money out of pocket, 25-year warranty on labor, warranty, roof penetrations, and performance of the panel. So I obviously could get more into that, and going down a presentation road, but that's really what flipped me. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is a benefit to my neighbors. This would be a benefit to my family. Now it makes sense to add that as an option, at least, company model wide, rolling this out. It makes sense now. It's a benefit to people versus where I didn't think it was before.
Sure. Well, and that answers one of the questions I was going to ask you. When you have a business focused on retail, meaning that homeowners or business owners are paying out of pocket for the services, I would think it would be important to have some financing options available for people who can't, who don't have that kind of savings for that
Right.
huge expense, which I don't think most of us plan on having to pay out of pocket for a roof. So having financing options available, I would think, would be important. And that low interest rate of 1.49, you said?
Yep.
That's a great rate. So that's a great option.
I mean, even better. So if you have subpar credit, I could probably get subpar credit passed at like a 2.99 if you're subpar credit. I mean, so either way, even if you don't have stellar credit, you have mediocre credit that isn't par, I can still get you a lower rate if you add the package of solar to your roof and doing it all at once. I can still get you a lower rate than if you were just to come to me wanting a roof by itself. At subpar credit, now you're talking about 10, 11, 12% versus perfect credit being at 6%. You see what I'm saying?
Right, right. So if someone is watching this and has an interest in maybe getting their roof done, or knows that they're going to need to have it replaced in the next few years, is there any advice or information that you'd like to share with them as kind of what their first steps should be?
Okay, so if it's just roof by itself, obviously in getting an assessment, I would recommend, trying to figure out where that roof life is, because especially here in Florida with all the insurance stuff that is, hitting the news, especially just this month alone or last month alone, um, a majority of insurance companies are going out checking their portfolio. They're going out and sending reps out to walk the outside of properties, get a kind of a good idea of really where they see potential liabilities being. And 9 times out of 10, it comes down to the roof. So in reaching out, whether it be to us or any other, trusted roofing contractor, I would say, have an assessment done, and that way you could see where prices are at today. Just today alone, okay, so since COVID has happened, I've had 6 price increases. The 6th one starting the beginning of this month on my materials. And that's not talking about inflation. That's just talking about actual price increases. So just to kind of get an understanding of where you're financially going to be at, you may want to have a trusted, licensed contractor come out and give you a walkover and give you an estimate, just so you can kind of start planning. Let's say if you don't come to Menzel Roofing Services, what I would recommend somebody do is go to the Regional Roofing and Sheet Metal Association. That organization has minimum standards that they want licensed contractors to be at in order to be a part of the Roofing and Sheet Metal Association. So if it not be Menzel Roofing, I would say go there and find a credible company. Go to the BBB. I'm a part of both organizations, and I do that to help my customers have peace of mind and knowing that, we're not a fly-by-night company or a storm chaser. Find a local business that you can trust. Get an assessment done.
Sure. Okay. That sounds like great advice. So if someone does want to contact Menzel Roofing, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
menzelroofing.com. You go there, just like any other business website, there'll be a contact form there. Go in, fill out your information. If you're interested in solar, you could go to Menzel Roofing as well, or you can go to solarsolutionsadvisors.com. Both business models, I always offer the opportunity for solar, so you could go to either one to find that. I think that's the easiest way. Social media, you can go to, Facebook or any of the social media outlets. You can find me that way as well.
Excellent. So what's the future like for you and Menzel Roofing and Solar Solutions? Where do you see yourself in the next several years?
Yeah, to be honest, I couldn't tell you it. With the way the economy is right now, I feel, and with legislation, I feel blessed that I set this model at a retail value, a retail model, because I've done a lot of good business out there within the community, and I know that I have a lot of people that refer us out. And so, am I going to be spending thousands of dollars on marketing and all that? No, I'm not. I'm going to still stay conservative and working, with the trusted people that refer us out. For me, I'm going to continue a conservative growth approach. Just because it kind of seems like the economy is iffy right now. A lot of people are unsure. Obviously, if you have to have a roof, then you're reaching out. But if your roof isn't leaking, you're definitely not out there looking around for a roof. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Normally I get contacted when, there's an issue. And if there's an issue, there's more of an issue because people normally let it, pass. If they get a small leak, they're like, oh, a small leak, handyman, throw some tar on it or something.
Right. Yeah. I think a roof replacement's probably the most expensive repair someone probably would ever have to do. their home. It's the most expensive thing I can think of. So I can understand wanting to put that off for as long as possible.
I would say the most expensive needed repair, because you can go and do a kitchen remodel and probably spend about the same amount of money, I would think, right? Or a master bathroom remodel.
Sure,
But
sure.
the most needed, replacement, most needed one, I would think, would be roofing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it doesn't bring the same kind of aesthetic value. When someone's remodeling a home, you're right. It's cosmetic, and it's something that usually they're doing at a time they can afford to do that, because it's not something usually that they have to do. It's just to kind of make the house more aesthetically pleasing, or to maybe increase the value in some way. So the roof, though, we don't have that same kind of excitement that I got everyone look at my new roof. You don't see
Right.
people posting on Facebook, look at my new roof, the way they do look at my new kitchen.
Right.
So I
That's
can,
definitely the truth there.
so yeah, it's probably, it's not the
More of a
type of,
begrudging kind of post. Oh, look at my new roof.
yeah,
Get a new roof.
I had to get a new roof instead of, excited to get a new roof. Well, I wish you the best in your future endeavors with your business. I think your conservative approach is wise, especially in today's economy, like you mentioned. And it seems like you have all the characteristics and work ethic of someone who will go far in this industry. So thank you so much for your time and for being here today. And any final thoughts before we close it out?
No, I appreciate you taking the time to reach out to me. I've enjoyed this, and I pray you the best of luck to you in your endeavors as well.
Thank you so much. With that, we will sign off for today.